that a lot of students can be very shy. They can be very reserved about opening up and expressing their opinions, expressing their views, because culturally they've been taught that expressing your opinions and views can sometimes be causing disharmony. We look at the Chinese student population in a couple different ways. On the one hand, they bring a tremendous amount of strengths in the form of the focus that students can have on attacking a problem, the way that they can really be process-driven and organized. They're some of the most hardworking students that I've encountered throughout the world. And so that really pays off when it comes to academics or studying for tests or really driving in and honing in intellectually on something that requires a systematic approach. Where it can be a weakness, and we see this coming a lot out of the education system in China, is that there's a lack of awareness around soft skills, presenting your opinion, being willing to speak up. And the reason for this is that it's just not, sort of pushed and encouraged in the Chinese education system. A lot of students don't participate in class, for instance, because they feel like they might be causing the teacher or the professor to lose face, or they might be standing out too much from the crowd, which is looked down upon in China in many ways. But in America, it's the opposite. Your professors and even other students expect you to express your opinion, to have a voice. To have some uniqueness about you that you are willing to communicate. And if you aren't expressing your opinions, then you're sort of seen as someone who isn't taking control of their life, right? It doesn't have a vision, doesn't have a viewpoint. A lot of them will come to a university, only engage with other students from China or from their home country, and not engage outside of that. They'll go through, get their grades, get their degree, and go home without any work experience and without engaging with other Americans. And that's a huge missed opportunity, I think, for the students and for the United States. There was a real struggle, not only to adapt to student life and college life in the United States, but also to navigate the recruiting process with companies when it came time to find a job. They'll go through an interview and they'll answer questions based on what? So students may just recite their resume, give stats, give figures, talk about classes they took, and forget about talking about why they do what they do. So telling a story about themselves. Why did they pick their major? Why do they care about a certain career path? And what kind of opinions do they have about what they want to do in their own life? American culture is about sharing ideas quickly, right? It's about not being afraid of failure, and so kind of sort of try before you think happens a lot. In China, you have to be a little bit more methodical about what you're doing, right? So in order to get to know somebody, you can't just show up to a meeting and start talking about the deal that you want to do. In the United States and in the Western world in general, I would say this is more like a line. So you have people who you don't work with and people who you do work with. And crossing that line can sometimes be very easy. You can meet with somebody in the United States and in one meeting start talking about business because there's this sort of implicit moral understanding about how you should work together. And the trust in the United States can sometimes be facilitated more quickly. Now, that doesn't mean that you should trust everybody. You should still be discerning about who you work with. But that's just the American way. People like to work fast. They like to get to the point. They're very direct instead of sort of building things up over time. We view the international job market as a market where employees and managers have the skill sets to adapt to a changing global environment. So that means that they have a very firm grounding in both Eastern and Western business cultures. They have the ability to communicate cross-border, the ability to understand somebody they may be working with who comes from another culture or another country. And they also have the adaptability to expand and grow. And I think that really comes from having a very firm grounding in, again, soft skills and communication, because so much of business, so much of your success in life is driven by how you can communicate and articulate what you want.